Yeah.
Happy birthday, Wayne.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Kenny, good to see you again, brother. Uh, is this your
Yeah,
third
man.
time doing this?
I know it's at least my second. Could be the third.
Well, what have we done? You did was it did you do Muddy Waters or did you do BB King? Because I know you did the Flying Burrito Brothers.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just talking about that with somebody. We did that for sure. I don't if there was a previous one. I don't remember
There
that.
was. There had to have been a previous one. There had to have been. This is the perfect opportunity where JT would be checking the math. Where are you right now, Kenny, in the world?
I was told to say that I'm in Tennessee by my friend, but I'm actually at his house. We're up in outside of Pittsburgh. I'm doing a big Viper Owners Association trip with a bunch of car guys. So I had like the week off before we head to Europe for our European tour. We'll be there the whole month of July, and so I decided to come hang out with a bunch of car guys and do some fun stuff before I leave the country.
How long are you going to the out of the country for?
A whole month. So basically, I leave on the 30th of June, and we don't come back till I think the 29th of July.
And this is all for the tour?
Yeah. Yep.
Right on, dude. I'm leaving for England July 29th, and then my August is pretty open, and I haven't been on vacation in 17 years. So I was like, I'm going to get lost in just Europe. JT, our one of my podcast producer, lives in Ibiza. That's how you're supposed to say it. Wayne, I'd take you with me, but you're working on too many projects and
too busy
right now. So I don't know, Kenny, if you've met Wayne, but Wayne is probably my most returning guest and is basically a legend in stand-up comedy, but also is one of the most knowledgeable, and I'd say guitar, like, I don't, what is your way, like your background?
I love music, but I'd say I'm especially like I'm a Guitar Hero guy, so
Right
that's
on.
that would be just. But I like really old music, like I like stuff from the 20s and stuff.
He likes that real crackle, like when you put it on.
I like it's very
well, right, yeah. But like so are the guitar players that you're fond of from that era, or you like?
No. When I was a kid, I was like all of those. Wait, he's all of the like the class, Page, Hendrix, Clapton, those. The English guys and Hendrix.
My people. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are
people
the ones
that I love
really,
too.
When I was a little kid, that really got me into that, and then it just continued. I know you're a huge Stevie Ray Vaughan guy. Same here. So.
Well, I'm a huge fan of all of them. Clapton, Beck, Hendrix, Page, you name it. I mean, Albert King. We can go down the blues list. There's all the hard hitters of blues, and
that's
the rock. I mean, look.
Yeah. No, that was why I wanted to bring him on.
I have a million questions.
Which is great, because here's the deal: is like Kenny is like, I'm still that dude that is like going through this list and studying the records, finding out all the info. But am I like the biggest blues fan? I'm becoming one. You know what I mean? I think there's nothing sexier and cooler than fucking slow blues. Learned that from Mark Maron. But it's like, as I've gotten down into this list, it's like we've just, it's like I'm still scratching the surface on people like Howlin Wolf. And that was funny because when I brought up, they said you were doing it, that made sense. And I was like, oh, let me have Wayne on to kind of like cut the mustard on it a little bit. But you had said that he's not known so much for his guitar playing as he's more known for his voice.
No.
Is that wrong?
For sure. No, that's true. 100%. So there you can find pictures of Howlin Wolf playing the guitar. And by the way, if you come across one, just make a mental note of how small that guitar looks on him, because he was a mighty big man. And anybody who knew him would tell you he was a very towering presence, big individual, and also could be a scary guy at times. He was intense, but I think that intensity was also reflected in his music and the way he sang and the lyrics that he wrote. Um, but yeah, he could play guitar. He was a great harmonica player. He's probably for an instrument more well known for his harmonica playing, most well known for his unique voice because he
Yep.
had they called him Howlin Wolf because he kind of had that raspy and he would howl in his songs and his howling was almost like blues yodeling, if you will. It was kind of a trip, but completely his own thing. And a lot of guys since him have kind of learned how to do that and will mimic him uh, and stuff. But he was the originator when it came to that stuff, as far as I'm concerned.
And how far into like, because I know you got into blues and guitar at a young age, but like, how far into your journey did you discover him?
Oh, early on. So, well, I mean, my dad listened to a lot of blues music. My dad was a disc jockey, so we listened to music 24/7, all kinds. But he loved blues. He loved, old school R&B and funk, and I mean everything. At the end of the same time, he was running, top 40 radio stations, active rock, classic rock. I mean, whatever. So when I was a kid, he was on country radio. So my dad, we grew up listening to everything, but a lot of blues around the house and being from Louisiana. So I heard Howlin' Wolf, but I think, the thing that like firmly put Howlin' Wolf on my radar was hearing about, so like, when you find out some of the heroes, some of the contemporary heroes, and I've tried to do the same thing that my heroes did, where you talk about the people that inspired you, right? Because none of us are inventing anything. I mean, even going back, like the King of the Blues, BB King would tell you that T-Bone Walker was his hero. And you go back and listen to early BB King music, and his early playing sounds just like T-Bone Walker. So T-Bone Walker inspired BB King, and then BB King evolved into becoming himself and ultimately the King of the Blues. So we're all inspired by what we heard from somebody else. And then we learn their stuff and we figure out a way to kind of take that and make it our own. And so I would look at my contemporary guitar heroes like Hendrix and Stevie Ray Vaughan, and you go, well, who do they listen to? Or, you would read interviews where they would talk about the people that they listen to. And names would be brought up, and Howlin' Wolf was one of those names. But as far as guitar playing goes, Howlin' Wolf, now his music was very guitar heavy. Actually, all of his instruments were featured. The piano, you can hear a lot of piano work, a lot of harmonica, a lot of guitar. Every instrument was featured in all of his songs very well. But Hubert Sumlin was the sound. He was
Yeah.
a huge part of the sound of Howlin' Wolf's music, and Hubert Sumlin was a guitar player. So then you find out there's these albums called the London Sessions, and they
Yeah.
did them with Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf and maybe some others, but those are the two most famous London Sessions albums where they took these blues legends and they brought them over to the UK and they put them in the studio and they recorded songs that they had. I don't know all the track listings, but I'm pretty sure most of those songs that they had already recorded them in their career, but now
Yep.
they're recording those songs with the hottest English players on the planet. So you had Clapton and Beck and all these guys. I think maybe Page might have been on it. It's been a while since I've listened to them, but they would team up the hottest English guys to play with Muddy Waters and do a record of his material and to do a Howlin' Wolf album of his material. But Howlin' Wolf was like, I'm bringing Hubert Sumlin with me. Like he's coming with me. Like I gotta have Hubert. And those guys were in awe of Hubert. Like they love because they learned all those Howlin' Wolf songs and everything that Hubert played on guitar. So like they looked up to Hubert. He was like one of their heroes. He was Clapton looked up to Hubert Sumlin,
Oh yeah.
Jeff Beck did. So and I got to know Hubert very well in the later part of his life, and he became like another adopted father to me. And I got to play
Yeah.
with him many times and watch the genius of Hubert Sumlin in real time and in real life. But he was an incredible guitar player. He deserves to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, by the way. And I don't know when or if that'll ever happen, but he should be.
So you can't talk about Howlin' Wolf without talking about Hubert. It's basically this guy's just as important.
For the guitar part, right?
Well, for sure. But like a lot of the guitar riffs in his songs were part of the hook. I mean, part of those guitar riffs that Hubert played is also what made the song as catchy as it was. So yeah, I do believe it's kind of like Hubert and Wolf go hand in hand for sure.
Now,
Yeah.
by the way, your audio is a little crackly on mine. Is that just me?
So it's you,
No,
by the way.
it's on me
You
too.
guys are
Yeah.
talking. Yeah, I'm not sure what. I've never
So
heard.
should we keep
anything like that.
going, or do we?
Who's working who's producing it right now? Is it Brian? Brian, you there,
Sorry.
bud? Give us 1 sec. Sorry about this, Kenny.
Can you hear
Brian.
me? Can you hear me? Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
we can hear you. Yeah.
Oh,
Is
okay.
it? Are you
Yeah,
are you just doing, Kenny? Are you just doing this through like the are you on Wi-Fi or anything or no?
Let me see. I don't know.
Yeah, are you on a phone or a laptop?
Yeah, I'm on the phone. That's all I have.
Oh shit. Okay. Do you have a laptop anywhere
let's
nearby?
see. No, I don't.
Okay.
I'm not traveling with one.
Gotcha.
But
Like
I
me.
usually do all this stuff. It actually went away now. It sounds like it's pretty bad.
No,
Oh, now it's got worse. Hold on.
Are you still here?
it got
Yeah, it's
worse.
it's real crackly. It got worse.
I can sign off and then try and sign. back
Yeah,
on again.
sign off and
Okay,
yeah,
so-
dude. Don't worry. We're only gonna do about an hour recording at the most, so we don't worry. We'll get through it pretty quick. So yeah, sign off and come back on and see if you get on the Wi-Fi. Yeah. How long were you guys waiting there before? I thought it was at like.
No,
Was that
no.
free?
We were there about 5 of. We were. Yeah.
Okay,
there
thank
was
God.
There was nothing. Yeah. I was like, should I say something about the crackling? I don't. My birthday. I don't want to.
The crackling. Get that
Should
crackling.
I?
Hold on. I'm gonna go get my water. Hold on. I got shocked when I came in here brushing my teeth, and then I saw everybody
Oh.
staring at me like I was in trouble. Let me grab my water bottle. Hold on. It's so hot here, dude. It's so hot. Happy birthday, Wayne.
Thank you.
I hate it when they join on cell phones. It never works out well.
Yeah, you got to cut in if it's and stop him if it's all
Ah.
crackly, because I don't want to be the jerk. You can be the jerk.
No, I can
You're like,
be
I'm
the-
the producer. I'm the engineer.
Get on a goddamn computer.
Yeah, I don't think he has one. So
Oh, what a
Yeah.
game 7, dude. Really
Ah.
got screwed. There.
Oh, that sucks.
that would have been a classic. That could have been a classic. Here we go.
Still doing it. It's really bad. Here we go.
Still bad.
We
Still-
Are
yeah,
you
still
on
sa-
Wi-Fi?
Worse.
It's got
Yeah.
worse.
Are you on Wi-Fi?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you try turning just the camera off? See if that helps.
How's that?
Still
No.
sounds bad. Yeah.
Still sounds terrible.
We like what you're saying, though.
It's not
Yeah,
you.
everything you're saying is great. Everything
We
you're saying
love
is
what you're
great.
saying. Everything is correct.
Jeez. Yeah, I've never
Can
heard
you-
anything like that before. Hold on.
Can you maybe get closer to wherever the router is?
Yeah, let me see. Hold on. Let me try this one more time.
Yeah, dude. When Halliburton went down,
Ugh,
Yeah,
it's just like you
That
knew
was
that
some bullshit.
OKC was gonna win. You knew they
Yeah,
were gonna.
yeah,
It's not.
yeah.
It's not bullshit. It's the human body, dude.
Yeah.
He was already hurt on that leg, and
Yeah.
that's what the problem was. He probably had a slight tear in his
Mhm.
Achilles, and then it popped.
Yeah.
But I think if he
that
doesn't go
is
down,
as graphic of a popped Achilles as I've ever seen. Like when they showed it in slow motion like that.
oh,
I was
yeah,
like,
you see him like,
like-
yeah, it's the worst. And I think if he doesn't get hurt, I think
at
the
least
Pacers,
it's a game. At least it'll be.
yeah, I don't think they get up by 20. That was like
yeah.
that was
Yeah.
crazy. I mean, just how once
They're
they got
good.
into that second half, it was over, and it was just like,
Of course.
oh man, yeah, it was a bummer.
That was a bummer. It was a bummer.
But I made a delicious dinner though. What did you do for your birthday, Wayne?
Oh, a lot of things. But before we get to that, I'm coming to New York this weekend.
I'm busy.
Yeah, I know. I gotcha.
We're hanging. Wait,
Oh, wait.
is this better?
No, it's horrible. And I'm like, I can't get any closer to the Wi-Fi. So maybe,
Ugh.
yeah, I don't know. It's not, I just don't think. I hate to say this, but I really don't think the problem's on my end, you guys.
Right.
Brian, what do you recommend, bud?
We may have to table this.
Well, we need it for Wednesday.
Like when you guys are talking, when any one of you are talking, including Brian or whoever there's, it's happening. So I don't know how what does it do when I'm not connected with you guys?
Well, no, when you're not, all of us, like I hear Brian perfectly. I hear Wayne perfectly. I think they hear me. I think it's just, like right now your video isn't choppy, but the audio is a little crinkly. But it was like, now it's choppy again. Now it's like wherever you just were was like perfect for a second.
Yeah, hold on.
Yeah.
Right here. Well, I'm like right here. But the audio on my end is really, really crackly anytime any of you guys talk.
When we speak, I got you. Yeah. All right. Well,
but is it
Brian,
crackling? Is it crackling when you guys are talking? When I'm talking?
Yeah.
Right now it's clear. It feels pretty clear.
Well, let's roll with it and see what happens. I can deal with the crackling. A minute ago, it was like I couldn't even tell what you guys were saying. So
see, now it's starting to come in clear. Whatever you're doing, don't fucking move. Stay right there, dude.
All right, let's do this.
Wayne, we pick up where we left off. You're the dude.
No, well, we were just talking about, basically his production and Hubert and how important he was to that whole thing, and especially he's one of these guys that came up from the Delta to Chicago, right?
Well, I don't know Hubert's geographic history.
I meant Howlin.
Howlin Wolf. I don't know that either. I do know that the Chicago scene is where it was at that time, and all those guys were, I can't even imagine what the scene must have been like at that time. It had to be pretty incredible to be there. But Hubert told me all kinds of stories about playing in the clubs up there, and Muddy and Wolf and those guys getting together, and all the different players and the dynamics, and how they all. There was a competition, but it was a friendly competition, which is kind of how it always is. It's like, musicians are like athletes, it's like you're competitive, but hopefully it's only just like to make each other better, but they were always trying to outdo one another and up their game and try different things and stuff. And sometimes they would rotate, Hubert would play with other people, and musicians would go from band to band. So like they all played together at some point or another. But yeah, Hubert's thing, I mean, I wish he was here to tell you guys his story, but he had a pretty incredible story. Actually, in my documentary, we did a documentary years ago, almost 20 years ago, called 10 Days Out, Blues from the Backroads, and we featured Hubert in a big part of that. And he told the whole story of working for Howlin Wolf, and how Wolf fired him at one point because he was playing with a guitar pick, and he said playing with a guitar pick was making him play too much, and he's playing all over him while he's trying to sing, and he's like, where I'm trying to go, you've already been there. And he sent Hubert home, and Hubert was really sad about it, and kind of a bit depressed and didn't know what to do. And then he decided to put the guitar pick down, and he learned how to play with just his fingers, and it transformed his entire style. And he said he found his own sound because of that. And I was listening to the record that I think we're kind of focusing on today. That Howlin Wolf record, and I was listening to a lot of that. And so there was a part of Wolf's career where I think Hubert wasn't necessarily playing guitar. I don't know how long Hubert was fired for, and maybe there was some earlier days before Hubert joined his band. And they did have guys like Buddy Guy, for example, was a session guitar player at Chess Records. So Buddy Guy played on all kinds of people's records that weren't just Buddy Guy records. So there's other guitar players that could be appearing on some of this stuff, but on this particular album, I'm pretty sure that Hubert's playing on several of these songs, and I can hear that it's from the era where he was still using a guitar pick, some of this stuff.
Oh, wow.
And so
Before
I was thinking
he got fired. Yeah,
I was thinking about that, as I was listening back to it. And he was a little bit more busy, but he said the minute he put the pick down, it just transformed his style, and it gave him his own voice. And so Hubert is one of the most distinctive guitar players, and you can hear a few notes of him playing, and you go, that's Hubert Sumlin right there. And that's what every guitar player hopes for, is that you can be identified like that.
Go ahead,
right.
Wayne.
And outside of Howlin, he was the only one they brought over for those London sessions, right?
Right. Yeah. So Wolf said, I'm coming to do this record in the UK, but I'm bringing Hubert Sumner with me. And Muddy, I don't think did that when Muddy did his London Sessions album. He didn't bring anybody with him, unless maybe I don't know if he brought James Cotton or not, but Wolf brought Hubert Sumlin, and so Hubert played guitar on that stuff along with the English Cats and those guys.
Right,
So
Clapton and those guys.
yeah, and those guys, they were thrilled about it because they looked up to Hubert because they had already learned all of his licks and stuff. I mean, you can hear early Clapton stuff and early Jeff Beck stuff when they were playing blues, and you can hear them playing like Hubert Sumlin's guitar licks. So I'm sure that was a big thrill for them when Hubert showed up for that.
Right. And
Yeah.
why do you think England, of all places, became so enamored with the blues in the early 60s with the Chicago blues sounds?
Well, I mean, you'd have to ask those guys. I can't speak for them, but I would like to think that it's because the music is great. It's real. It
The
resonates.
authentic. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's something about it, that I think people like can identify with. I think universally anybody can identify with blues music because the one requirement for blues music to play it authentically is to play from your heart. And so when you're tapping into that source, that's something people can feel without words. And so you don't have the language barrier doesn't exist when you're dealing like soul to soul. And Hubert said the same thing. The way he said it was, he was like, man, if I'm playing it and I'm feeling it, then they gots to feel it. And that's the truth. And I think that's probably what they picked up on. And then the rest is history. You had guys, and not just the English guys. I mean, it was happening here in America too, but they took the blues music and then they transformed it into rock and roll.
No question, no question.
So-
And what was it like for you when you were like playing guitar next to Hubert? Was that surreal? Was it?
Yeah, man, it was incredible. I mean, we had some really amazing experiences, and there was one really frightening experience where I thought he died on stage.
Oh
Um,
no.
yeah, it was crazy, but just to watch him and watch his hand technique, and all the little things that these guys learned how to do to entertain people when they were playing on the Chitlin circuit and playing in these juke joints and stuff, and their showmanship. And I mean, they just entertain people in a way that, even people of my generation, we don't do it like that because we didn't grow up, learning that. They watched somebody else do it and then it evolved. But Hubert had a lot of tricks up his sleeve, things that he would do that you just wouldn't see coming. And it would your jaw would hit the floor, because you just never expected that. And he just whipped it out and just blew everybody away. So it was pretty incredible watching him on stage every night and playing and interacting with him.
So I
And
got a
how did this-
question. Well, hold
Go
on,
ahead,
wait.
go
I got a question. So if because as a guy that's still on the outside of why of like the blues that's starting to figure out about it, if we sit there and we talk about Muddy Waters and we talk about Howlin Wolf and BB King, then am I wrong that because I hate to say it, that this is like, besides from reading this shit, this is the first time I've really heard about Hubert. Like, why isn't he up there with those other guitar guys if he was so important if he's basically the Van Halen to the David Lee Roth? I don't know why I chose that breakdown. So different, but yeah, like why am I just finding out about this guy and how dope this dude is?
Well, that's exactly. I posed the same question, but I think once you find out about Howlin Wolf, then you do find out about Hubert.
Yeah.
So I don't know how familiar you were with Howlin Wolf or not, but I just think I don't know. I think Hubert. I mean, I think Howlin Wolf might be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I'm not sure if he is.
Oh,
or
for
not.
sure, yes, for
Yeah,
sure.
Okay. Yeah, but I think Hubert deserves to be right there with him. The problem is like, they had guys like Howlin Wolf and Muddy Waters, and they looked at them like they were solo artists, and they were, but the musicians that they had around them were legendary as well. They just didn't have the big name. They weren't the name. But those guys made a huge contribution to the sound of those people's music, and I wish they'd kind of broaden. Well, whatever. They can do what they want, but I wish they would kind of broaden it out a bit and really take a look at some of these people that made significant contributions to the music and music history that deserve to be recognized as well. And Hubert is absolutely one of those people.
Oh, no question. And how did you come up with just like the set list of what you guys were going to play? Did you banter, or he was just like, I need to play these songs?
No. We put the set together.
You
But
did?
we did we did songs that they were Howlin' Wolf songs when he came
Yeah.
up with us, and so it was stuff that he was comfortable with, and there was some songs that I loved playing those songs when I was a kid, so it was like a dream to play those songs with
Mm,
him,
must have been
and stuff
crazy.
like that. So
What were those songs that you loved playing as a kid? Like, what were the ones that
well,
you're?
the biggest one is like there's a song called "Rockin' Daddy," which is like it has this really cool guitar riff that's all Hubert Sumlin, and
Hmm.
uh, and it's just like it's one of the first ones that I think a lot of people learn. Um,
Is that the
and
first song on that London Sessions?
I don't know. I'd have to look it
Oh,
up to see what the
okay.
track listing is.
Yeah.
But it's just super cool. 100% Hubert, 100% original. And so to play that with him and to just be able to look over at him and see him doing
Right.
his thing, man. It's just it was incredible.
I had a question just about, because we were talking about slow blues, but I feel like a lot of what like Hubert and Howlin were doing was a little more up tempo, a little closer rock. Is that right?
Well, I will
Some
say
of it, yeah.
sure, but like one thing about Howlin' Wolf is like, he did songs that were like shuffles and stuff like that, but
Hmm.
he really there was two things that I noticed a lot about his music is that he
Yeah.
really was trying to do some things that were kind of outside the box. Whether it was like, the groove they were playing to or whatever, it was like I don't know, it seemed really innovative to me for blues music at the time. But then there's also like you can listen to a lot of his songs and he would make he could make five different songs out of a variation of the same idea, one of the same single idea. So like when I'll sit down and I'll have an idea on guitar and I'll go, oh, that's kind of cool, and then I'll keep messing with it, and then it'll evolve into something else, and maybe I'll keep messing with it until finally it evolves into something that, okay, that sounds right to me. We're going to write a song with that idea. But prior to that, it may have evolved into four different things along the way. Well, Howlin' Wolf just decided to write songs for all four of those different things
Love it.
instead of just the one final thing. So like you
Right.
can hear, like I'll hear these songs and they're completely different songs, but I'm like, it has elements of this other song and elements of this other song. And so he obviously just decided to write all the songs along the way instead of just the one song.
Wow. That's so cool, man. It's like I'm reading all this stuff as I'm going through like the tracks that we have from this. And it's like, because we're talking about specifically Moanin in the Moonlight compilation record released in 1959. It contains
Mhm.
songs recorded between 51 and 59. Would you say those are the peak years of Howlin', or did he get better after this?
I thought it was,
No, man. And I mean, his recording career went well beyond that and hit.
and
Yeah.
he
So,
had bigger, like he had
yeah.
Killing Field and all of that stuff. What
Yeah, the Killing
after
Floor. Yeah.
Killing Floor, excuse me, yeah. After
Mhm.
that, and the Spoonful and stuff. What's interesting, because we had done a Sun Records compilation,
Yep.
Mhm.
and so the first two tracks, Moanin' and How Many More Years, is
Mhm.
on that Sun Records compilation,
Right.
because he recorded those for Sam Phillips down there in the Memphis recording studio before it was even called Sun Records,
Mhm.
and then sold them or leased them. I'm not sure exactly how it worked to, the Chess brothers up there, the two Polish Jewish guys in Chicago who
Yeah.
sort of started that, that scene, right?
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that,
I'm not.
dude. Jews
Uh,
always at the forefront of shit.
Yeah, I know.
Dude.
It's just
Ground floor, get us Jews in there,
there's
dude. We'll
nobody.
kick it into high gear.
yeah. I'm not sure how the deals worked back then either, but I was surprised to find out. Um, a lot of these blues players didn't write songs. Like Willie Dixon was probably the
Yeah,
most
yeah,
prolific blues songwriter maybe of all time, right? So a
yeah.
lot of famous blues players would record songs that Willie Dixon wrote. And And some of these songs on this record are Willie Dixon, but the majority of these songs were written. It says Chester Burnett. That's Howlin Wolf's real name. So he was kind of an anomaly in that regard too, because like he wrote a lot of his own songs and went in an era where not a lot of those artists actually did do that. So yeah, things. And I'm curious. I mean, it's none of my business really, but like, did he have the foresight to hold on to that publishing and did and because some guys sold their songs, some guys got ripped off,
Yeah,
of
a lot of
shady
guys
stuff
got
was
ripped
going on.
off by
Oh, I bet.
those Chess brothers because Willie Dixon was the in-house producer, arranger, talent scout for Chess Records, but also and all of that stuff he wrote under that label, Chess owned,
Right.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
And then
Plus, not the
of course,
best. Yeah.
not the best, not good for the Jews. Not good for Leonard and whatever his buddy's name.
You think we need better PR now?
Yes,
Go back
yeah, I know,
to
go
the
back.
late 50s.
But I will say, I do feel like Smokestack Lightning is kind of the quintessential Howlin' Wolf song because he does the howling in it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but he does it in a lot of songs. It kind of
Right,
became
right.
a trademark thing, But yeah, Smokestack Lightning is certainly, I mean, that's another one where it's like what an interesting riff and what an interesting like drum beat, and it's not your typical blues song. The arrangement is incredibly unique, and is outside the box of what kind of was the mainstream blues sound or what was the standard kind of blues sound for the time.
Yeah, I like his use of horns too, where it's like always wild.
So what I've got from this is at night, Chester Burnett would sit outside watching trains roll across the Mississippi countryside. Sometimes the train smokestack shot off sparks. The image stuck in Burnett's mind. And one day he wrote a song about it. And by that time, he was known all around the world as Howlin' Wolf already. The original title was Crying at Daybreak. The lyrics discuss an unfaithful woman and Wolf's heartbroken need to hop a train and leave town. I mean, how many times have we been in that position? Get me a knapsack on a stick and get the fuck on the rail system. So it's dark, and this song's like, there's something dark and mysterious about this song that I got, because it's like, the first listen, I always go the full way through, and I know we're skipping ahead to the third track on the record, and I want to go back and talk about those first two in a moment. But I mean, this was like the first one. I was at the gym, and I was like, it just sounds a lot. Where it's the music doesn't feel that way. It definitely seems like this is like there's some insidious shit going on in this world. Am I wrong?
Well, if you listen to a lot of his lyrics, he's got some really dark lyrics. I mean, I think even on this record, I don't have the track listing in front of me, but I believe one of the songs is I asked her for water and she gave me gasoline. Right? So, I mean, like the dude wrote some hardcore lyrics. And I actually was thinking, this guy was like kind of like he could be a scary guy. He could be a really intimidating person from what I heard. And so I'm going, wow, a guy that intimidating, for him to be dealing with women that were willing to do stuff like that to him. It's like he was dealing with some hardcore women, bro. Like where did he find them at? But a lot of his stuff is lends itself to the darker side of the blues for sure.
Would you say like who is probably the darkest of the lyrically and musically of all blues musicians? Like who's the Marilyn Manson of blues?
Well, some of these lyrics in his songs, I would say, if you want to go there, I mean, it's pretty low down stuff, man. I mean, it's pretty low down. There's, it's like he's not trying to be funny about it. Like he's like getting straight, to the point about like what cuts, the hardest, what like really makes you bleed.
Yeah, it's funny. I just found this out in 2001. Erectile dysfunction medication Viagra ran a commercial with Smokestack Lightning playing in the background while a middle-aged gentleman in a cowboy hat harnessed horses to his pickup. Yeah.
That would have been funny if it was like the Bob Dole one.
Yeah. Oh God, it's like I mean, I wonder if hopefully he got paid for that. I'm assuming he must have gotten fucking paid for that. Do you know anything about that, Kenny?
Somebody got paid for it. for
Yeah.
sure. I don't know if it was
Yeah.
him, his estate, or the record company, or who, but somebody got paid for it.
Yeah, dude. Let's go back though. Let's talk about the opening track, "Moanin' at Midnight." I mean, this was
is the
such a
Sam Phillips produced
yes.
track. Yeah. In
Sam
Memphis.
Phillips. You got Willie Johnson on guitar. You got Willie Steele on drums. Ike Turner on piano. And then Hubert is not on this song. No, he is on this song. I'm sorry. Wait, no, "Moanin' for My Baby." No, he's not on this one. Yeah, I mean, great opening track. This is probably, I mean, it's the title track on the record, obviously. Chesson came in August 1951 with "How Many More Years" as the B-side, reached number 10 on the Billboard Most Played Jukebox R&B Records chart of November 10th, 1951. Like you said, Sam Phillips described "Moanin' at Midnight" as the most different record I have ever heard.
Yes,
Phillips
wow.
had not yet founded Sun Records, so he leased the song recordings to Chess Records. Why do you think, guys, why do you think he would say something like that? It's the most different record I've ever heard.
It's like, if you think about it, Ike Turner and Sam Phillips, like discovering this guy in, the Howling. At the time, he was still called Chester Burnett, the Howling Wolf. It was like sort of his thing. So those two songs are really kicked off his whole career. And those are the first two tracks.
Yeah. How many more years? So Howlin Wolf, just so everybody knows, Kenny mentioned it earlier, but this is a big dude. He is 6'6", comes in close to 300 pounds. But in this song, how many more years? He's been pushed around by a woman and wonders how much longer he's going to endure it. At the end of the song, he says he's going to get his stuff and leave, but we're not sure if he'll go through with it. Led Zeppelin borrowed extensively from this song for their 1969 track, "How Many More Years." Rolling Stones did their part to spread the gospel of Howlin' Wolf when they appeared on the American variety show Shindig in 65. They made sure Wolf, then 55, was on the program. Oh, that's awesome. And they had number one hit
footage of that. Yeah.
Is there?
He did Little Red Rooster in that, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
did Little Red Rooster originally recorded. That's so funny, that Little Red Rooster. So the story, Kenny Wayne. So I do a show called The Goddamn Comedy Jam where comics do stand up and then they sing a cover song. And I had Mark Maron on, the first time Maron, one of the biggest podcasters in the world at that time. Bill Burr was supposed to do it. Burr dropped out. He got me Maron. I called Maron, and Maron's like, "So what's the show?" And I explained it to him, and he goes, "I want to do a Rolling Stone song." And I'm like, "Oh, cool. You could do like Sympathy for the Devil or, Honky Tonk Woman or Satisfaction. The audience will love that." And he goes, "Yeah, I could give a fuck about the audience. I want to do a Little Red Rooster, a Japanese only B-side so I can shred on it." I mean, that was my first introduction to that. So God bless it, dude. Thoughts on How Many More Years and thoughts on the bands like Led Zeppelin and Rolling Stones giving the kudos and the honor to Howlin' Wolf. What do you think about it, Kenny Wayne?
Well, I think that's, what we talked about in the very beginning is like, when you're inspired by somebody, it's your duty to like tell the world about them and that they inspired you. And so it's, those huge bands were inspired by people like Howlin' Wolf and Muddy Waters. And a big part of their sound came from listening to those people's records. And so I'm glad that they helped spread the word. Now there are some Led Zeppelin songs that some people are like, "Hey man, they just straight up ripped off, some of these blues guys," or maybe they gave them the credit, but publicly people didn't realize that these were actually old blues songs. They thought Led Zeppelin invented this stuff, but they'd be the first to tell you if you asked them, like, "Yeah man, Howlin' Wolf, Muddy Waters, we got all that stuff from them," and because that's the truth, and that's why they say the blues had a baby and they named it rock and roll.
Yeah. As far as how many more years I'm going to take it about touring is like, do most blues musicians just basically, play a show, into their 80s and then die? Is it like, does any blues musician ever really retire?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think it's kind of like, I don't know that many musicians do. I mean, you just feel like you're called to do this. It's your passion. It's what you're put here to do, and you do it as long as you can possibly do it. That's just part of who you are. I mean, look at the Stones. I mean, they're still going. I mean, just about everybody I know, as long as they can perform, they feel compelled to do it.
So
the Stones are like 20 years older than Howlin' Wolf was when they put him on the Shindig show.
Yeah.
Like that's how long they've been touring.
Yeah.
Oh, and they're killing it still.
Killing it.
Yeah.
Killing floor. Killing floor.
Do you
also there was a Howlin' Wolf song not on this album called Spoonful that Cream did an incredible cover of.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. It's another perfect example of the British rock bands that were influenced by these American blues musicians. And yeah, they did a really cool kind of version of that. They touched, kind of gave it a little more of a hint of a psychedelic rock vibe, but absolutely did it their own. And then they turned on a younger generation, like their fans found out about Howlin' Wolf, because of that song.
Why is it that we always talk about the people that came afterwards, but not the people, you know what I mean? Like if Led Zeppelin is stealing from all of these guys, but it's like, and we're talking about how great they are, and they have on this list. I mean, we have their first Led Zeppelin record coming up in a few weeks. I think it's Houses of the Holy, but I think we're knocking out like 5 of their records or whatever. And it's like you have one Howlin' Wolf record on this whole thing. Why is it these guys get all the shine? Is it because they took the blues and basically rock and rolled it, and that was basically the fad? I'm assuming.
Well, there's that. I mean, they took the blues and they turned into something that became bigger, which was rock and roll and reached a wider audience. But also, it's like as music evolves, you become more and more generations removed from the original blues guys, And so, I mean, there's kids today that don't know who the Beatles are, which is mind blowing.
It's insane.
That's just what happens as time goes on. But if they feel inspired to like do their musical homework and connect the dots, then they'll find out. They'll go backwards and then they'll discover the Beatles, because the Beatles inspired so many people that led to what's popular today.
Yeah. Smokestack. Yeah, it's getting really crinkly again, Kenny. I'm sorry, dude. Let's dude. I know there's nothing we can do. We tried everything, dude. Let's cut you loose. Me and Wayne can finish this. We got it. We got a lot of great shit from you, and it's not that we don't want to keep you, but it's just the audio is just so. We want you. It's just the audio is fucked right now, dude.
Okay, guys.
Thank you.
And dude, thank you, brother. And dude, we'll get you. We'll get you. We have more blues coming up. We'll definitely get you back. We will, brother. Have a great tour, dude. Enjoy Pittsburgh. Thank you, brother. All right, Fetty. you better Kenny Wayne Shepherd this shit up.
I don't know
dude.
if I can do that. I don't know if I can do all
what a
that.
bummer, dude. Like
but there was also another he did this song called Backdoor Man that the obviously the Doors did like a version of. So it's just really interesting, like how many of these songs, specifically of Howlin' Wolf, made it to that next generation. And to answer your question in a less crinkly manner, the reason that the Led Zeppelin is because it was more commercial than these blues records. Like blues were basically like on the R&B charts, which was sort of the race record charts, and they sold records. Don't get me wrong, but like they really became valuable in England. These blues records, these Chess records, these there was many VJ. There's many other blues labels, but Chess was like the main one. And so when they got over to England, they would trade these records. Remember we talked about John Mayall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was gonna bring him up earlier, but I didn't want to sound stupid. But I was like, Blues Breakers? Are we?
Yeah.
By the way, Wayne. I know I'm off topic, but because it was your birthday yesterday, and did you see the video I made of all the records that all the episodes that you've been on? Oh my God, it's on Instagram, and you'll love the song. Oh, can I ruin it? Do you want me to ruin it?
No, ruin it.
Cry, Cry, Cry by Bobby Blue Bland.
He was also part of that Memphis scene.
No way.
Yeah.
Professor Longhair?
No, Professor Longhair's New Orleans, but
I know.
But that whole thing of the Delta blues, which is basically acoustic blues, and all of those guys went to Memphis and then from Memphis went up to Chicago, and then those albums make it over to England, and next thing you know, they're inviting these blues guys over to England to do these tours. They were called the Blues Folk Tour in '64. Howlin Wolf was like the headliner, Muddy Waters, all of these guys, and and from there we get this crazy blues explosion, which becomes the Yardbirds, which becomes Zeppelin, which becomes Cream, which becomes all of this stuff. And it all goes back to these guys. And that's why they're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That's why that is why they're in the Rock and Roll, because it is a direct line. It's not like, oh, a little bit of an influence here and there.
Let's find out when Howlin Wolf actually got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1991. Inducted. So wow, very, very early on.
Yeah, he's a pioneer, no question. I mean, it's like of the Chicago guys, he's one of the top 3. He's no question.
So what is?
I love that Kenny Wayne talked also about Willie Dixon, who was this bass player who wrote a lot of these incredible songs that these blues guys did. And then, yeah.
Howlin Wolf, following a number of legal issues and a stint in prison. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, that was early on. That was when he was, he was like, his mom didn't like the music he was playing, and they ended up moving in with his dad, and he got in a little trouble, and he went into the Army. That didn't work out. He did manage to get an honorable discharge, but he just had a raw, you would love his voice. His voice is so evocative. It is just a classic blues voice. And again, when I was a kid, I thought he was a guitar player. I had no idea that it was mainly vocal and harmonica.
So yeah, that's what's funny is I was just assuming that it was, but no, the more I think about it, and I think I probably gave this record about 4 or 5 listens.
The whole thing?
Yeah, all the way. It's very short. I mean, it's 33
Right.
minutes long. If I'm not mistaken, let me just double check the math. Yeah, this came in at 33 minutes. I was right.
Yeah.
And the only, it's the only way to it's like his voice is how do I put it? Like primal.
Yeah. I think
is that a good way? I mean,
yeah,
it
more
seems
than
like
just gravel, more than just gravelly.
Yes. Yeah, more than just like a sandpaper growl.
Yeah.
There's like almost like it's like who is the other, is it Betsy Smith or like who was another famous like blues singer? Like,
Well, they had a lot of those guys. They had Ma Rainey, and they were called blues shouters. Was the name, literally the category of that, and then I'm trying to think of the guy's name. It wasn't Joe Williams who sang with Count Basie's orchestra, but no, he was just so. I think because he was so huge a guy, like what was he 6'6" is what you said?
6'6", 300 pounds, died at 65. Yeah, damn, dude, that's crazy.
Yeah, here's a crazy little story about him. He was estranged from his mother because his mother thought she was a church lady and thought the blues was the devil's music. So that was a real thing back then. And when he was on his deathbed, he had dialysis and then had the heart attacks and all that. He I want to see my mom before I die. She wouldn't see him. How crazy is that? How crazy is that? After selling all those records.
Yeah, well, I didn't even think about that.
After inspiring Led Zeppelin.
I know, but dude, you go against the
I know
things he went to the devil. And I mean, it's the movie. Have you seen Sinners?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. Did you see 28?
I think about like that barn they bought to create the juke joint. Is like that's what that kind of looked like in Mississippi down there, like these just like wooden barns that there'd be a kitchen, and then they'd play these songs and get people and charge a quarter. Charge a quarter to get in. And I mean, it didn't become a vampire movie, but still, it was very evocative. Very evocative.
And also I loved the scene where he's playing guitar, and as he's playing guitar, he's conjuring up the spirits of the musical history going all the way back to like the African dance.
Might be the best moment of the movie, right?
Yeah, I definitely think it was the moment that because then after the movie, Burr had explained it to me before because he saw it with his wife, and he was like, "No, it's not about vampires. It's about the white record labels coming in and stealing the black music and what they did." And it's like, I mean, because you know that's Bill. Bill sees it.
Leonard Chess, the two Polish Jewish guys.
the Chess brothers. How you doing, Howlin? Good to see you. We really like that.
Muddy meet Howlin.
Muddy, Howlin, BB. Good to see you, boys. Okay.
Good to see you. Just sign right here.
And we'll take 99.9%. We're the original Spotify. We'll pay you 0.02% of every listen at a record player. For every crinkle of the record, we'll give you a negative cent. Yeah, that's crazy, dude. You know, is he on the?
Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, is he on the Mount Rushmore of like blues guys? Is like Howlin Wolf?
Chicago blues, definitely.
Okay, now
not of all blues.
Now, take it here, Wayne, because I want you to explain this to me like I'm a 2-year-old. What is the difference between the Delta and Chicago? Is Chicago electric?
Yes, you got it. You answered.
Okay.
You asked. You answered. You don't even.
Cool.
Okay, I'm going to sign off. You don't even need me anymore. My work is done.
No.
It's basically that's it. Like the Delta blues was basically acoustic, and then they in Memphis as well. They started plugging in. Remember, B.B. King was always like, "Oh, they created electric blues in Chicago." No, they were doing it in Memphis as well. Bobby Blue Bland and all of those guys. But yes, the Delta was basically acoustic. That's Son House, Charlie Patton, all of those, the guys before Howlin Wolf, you know, that he learned from. Robert Johnson, I'm sure you've heard of him.
Signed a deal with the devil.
Yes, it all goes back to that. So Crossroads Blues. So and then it's all about, it's really, when you think about the blues as a genre, is especially what happened in Chicago, it's a testament to electricity and innovation. It's like these guys, it's like even Kenny Wayne Shepherd, like his Stratocaster that's like from 1961. It was like they were just between Leo Fender and Les Paul, they were figuring out how to electrify these instruments, and then it just went to a whole nother level. Could you play louder? Play louder?
But also the pedals and the tones and the wah-wahs and the this and the that. I mean,
and then you get a genius like Jimi Hendrix who can play blues. Obviously, he does. He does so many blues songs. Red House in particular, that's just incredible. But also adds psychedelia, adds jazz, adds fusion. You know what I mean? Like, so he keeps building on all of that stuff. I mean, Hendrix is the guy. But yes, of the Chicago blues, Howlin Wolf, no question, is on the Mount Rushmore. No question.
All right, and this is a weird question, Wayne, but if you could bring back, if there was a musician that died early, you know, one of those guys in the 27 Club or even before, like you know, like Buddy Holly died at 22. You know what I mean? Whose career would you have loved to have seen, you know, die of natural causes, you know, in their 80s or 90s? Who would you have loved to see? This is a good question.
Yeah, this might be too good for me. This might be
this is a great question for Wayne Federman on his birthday, day after, post-birthday.
Post-birthday. All right. Well, I mean, obviously Hendrix is like, just pops into my mind more than Janis Joplin. Like, just because Hendrix was like, he was writing songs, he was super creative. And then there was a guy in the 30s named George Gershwin, who yeah, he died young.
Dun, 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 dun.
That's him.
Oh yeah, dude.
By the way, if you think about that song,
Rhapsody in Blue, by the way, everybody, if you're wondering.
In what? Rhapsody in Blue.
In Blue, I said that.
But he's basically doing blues music adding blues music to classical. That's what.
Bam, 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 That's
That's a blues scale. That's a blues scale. That's what I'm saying.
Really?
That's why it's called Rhapsody in Blue. It's the blues in classical music.
Holy shit.
Can you handle it?
I'm blown away right now. I'm blown away like Halliburton's Achilles, dude. I am blown away.
So we were just talking about blues music. That's just electric guitar blues. There was, many different versions of this, but it's basically a scale where they drop down, a couple of the notes to flats, and it gives it that off tone, like, oh, the devil's here, the devil's, and that's what Gershwin did with that. I don't know, symphony piece.
Yeah, it's a symphony piece. Yeah,
that symphony thing. But think about it. We're talking about the blues. That was him, and his first big, huge show was Porgy and Bess, which was about Black people, so he could write blues music as well. Summertime, do you know that song, Summertime?
When the Living ZZ, yeah, and from 1924. So Rhapsody in Blue came out in 1924.
Yeah.
So
there was blues music, but yeah, before the Delta guys.
So how did Gershwin? Did he was going out there and probably listening to all of that
in Harlem? Yeah.
Wow.
Up to Harlem, slumming up in Harlem. He loved it up there. Yeah. So and then this guy named Paul Whiteman, one of the worst names for a jazz band leader, literally Whiteman. That's his name.
Yeah.
I wish it wasn't, but it is. He was like, he had this thing and he hired him. He's like, can you write something for this show we're going to do? And then Gershwin was really influenced by this new kind of African-American Black music called the blues. And so he incorporated it into a symphony or into a classical music. And that's why you have it. I know I'm repeating myself.
No, but I dig it.
I just think, okay, so who else who died? Well,
like Lennon, he got to 40, but
yeah, Lennon, Elvis also.
Kurt Cobain.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I always wonder, like Nirvana. Nirvana, I think.
Oh, obviously the Big Bopper. That's the biggest. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, dude, no, Big Bopper, Richie Valens.
Yeah.
I was literally on IMDb on Wikipedia looking at them today because somebody had just played Iowa where they had died.
Mm-hmm.
And that story is like so crazy. Also, Buddy Holly's wife, who he had met, maybe within the year prior and married, he got engaged the night that he met her. She was pregnant with his child. And when she found out that he had died via the television,
right,
or the radio, and that caused her to have a miscarriage, which then changed the law that you're not allowed. You have to reach out to the loved ones of the person. They can't find out via the television. It's got to go to them first before you can make the announcement.
Right.
Very interesting. Very interesting. But Buddy Holly, could he have been? Maybe turns into like a Roy Orbison type character, and he's and so years later, the Beatles are bringing him up on stage the way that John Lennon did with Chuck Berry, because the Crickets were so influential for the Beatles.
Obviously, just a name alone.
Yeah, but also, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, the Crickets, the Schlickets, the Stickets, the Rickets,
Beatles.
Like who? Like, so if you had to bring one. Who is the thing? Who are you bringing?
It would either be Gershwin or Hendrix. More than John. John Lennon made it to 40.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's hard because that's just Lennon is like everything.
Yeah. So great.
It's hard not to say John Lennon.
Because he was.
But not. I mean, not Jim Morrison. Sorry, Doors fans.
No. It's I think that they had their moment.
Who were you thinking? Like,
man,
Elvis Presley? No.
I don't know who I would pick, because I would pick like influential to really my life.
Kurt.
No, I'm curious. I'm curious what Nirvana would have done though. Like how they would have changed. I'm curious what the next record would have been after, because they were going. In Utero was so different than Nevermind. Like they tried to make a non-pop record, whereas like Nevermind, if you remove all of the distortion, it's a pop record. It really is. I mean, and he knew how to write these really great songs. I don't think he would have gone like, new metal-esque, like the way that like I'm just using Tommy Lee as an example, but like Tommy Lee is a drummer in Motley Crue, and they're hard rock. And then when the late 90s came and everybody's doing that like rap rock mix, he starts doing that, and he's kind of now doing like drum and bass or whatever the fuck he is, or dubstep. I don't know. I think I would have loved to have seen, like you mentioned, Janis Joplin. I mean,
yeah, maybe she.
Let me look at the 27 Club. Is that what it is? The 27 Club? Let's see everybody. Amy Winehouse. I would have loved to have seen what she would have done. And I really got into her. There's some great recordings of her and Paul Weller. Do you know Paul Weller?
I do.
There's some great, they did stuff on Jules Holland together. That is just phenomenal music. Yeah. So Brian Jones, Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Jim Morrison, Kurt Cobain, Basquiat, but he's not really a musician as such, but Amy Winehouse. Those are just from the 27 Club. But then they have like Mac Miller, and there's, I think he was 27. I don't know, man. I think Jimi Hendrix, like,
but I might be wrong about that, but that's the one that, like, just because he was getting into jazz, I don't know. I might be wrong about that.
Because I think Jim Morrison was pretty much already starting to venture out of music.
Right.
Like he was starting to do poetry more, and the band was already kind of falling apart, and it was probably from his drug use and his drinking. Janis, though, I mean, dude, like how great would her voice have matured the older she gotten, and it really would have, like, the tone of it, like 20 years later into the 80s, like it would have been, or the 90s, because she died in when did Janis Joplin die? In
1970.
Let's see, I got it right here. She died in 1970 at 27 in Los Angeles.
Wow, not even 71. Wow.
Yeah, October 4th, 1970. Yep, heroin overdose.
She's from Texas.
Port Arthur, Texas.
Can I just say something? I know we've been making fun of Leonard and Phil Chess of Chess Records, but they did, besides putting out those records for the blues guys, they were very influential in getting Bo Diddley on the Ed Sullivan Show, and of course Chuck Berry. So they're very influential. I just wanted to think like they were just ripping off.
But were they ripping everybody off though, Wayne? Look, we're giving them a respect. I mean, they're not like, listen, you can respect an artist and respect an art form and help it grow. But if you give bad deals to these guys that need the money.
I think they were known for not great deals. Yeah.
I mean, how much did Howlin Wolf's estate, like how much do you think it's worth? Like I'm saying, Howlin,
it's a good question.
His net worth, it's not specific. There's not an available source.
I do know this is another interesting thing about Howlin Wolf, that he was a very stand-up guy in that he paid all his players, paid unemployment insurance, so when they weren't working they could collect unemployment, which is something almost no band leader did back then.
Wow. And
he lived a very he could have been driving like caddies and that stuff around town, but he drove a Pontiac his whole life, and he was very austere. That's not the right word. He was a very frugal guy, not showy, and just loved playing that music right till he died. When his doctors were like, "Please stop," and he's like, "I can't stop." Like it's like what you said earlier. Like they just go until they drop.
And it says that we were talking about Hubert Sumlin. Mick Jagger and Keith Richards.
Not Herbert. Hubert.
Hubert. Yeah.
Hubert is his name.
Yeah. Hubert Sumlin. Mick Jagger and Keith Richards offered to pay the bill for his funeral when he died in 1980. So, yeah, man.
1980.
Says he died. No, he died at the age of 80. I'm sorry, died at the age of 80. Yeah, that means Kenny Wayne Shepherd played with him, and he was he was -3.
Yeah. Oh, really? Yeah, you asked a great question. Of all the questions, there was just one great one, and that was, what was the why isn't Hubert in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? And I think it's because he was just part of. It would be part of Howlin Wolf's universe. That's all. His name wasn't on the poster. It was Howlin Wolf, and that's what people went to see. And he was crucial to his sound. Once he gave up the pick.
Once he gave up the pick, that fucking pick, dude. So who's so if Hubert is that to Howlin Wolf, who is, so he's the Keith Richards to Mick Jagger, or is he he's the
well, again,
the Slash to Axl?
Right. Is Slash going to be alone in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? No, but that was a band. That's a good question. Like in other words, all of those bands, all of the members of it, it's just Howlin Wolf's bands changed so many members. But maybe he should get in there. He is in the Blues Hall of Fame, right?
Yeah. Oh, let me double check. And the who's the guy I was thinking of? My Lord. Who was the guy? I was just no, like, because it's like it's the way that you think of, because you can't, because Guns N' Roses is Guns N' Roses the band, so they're all in a sense equaled under the name.
Oh,
Guns
I have
N'
one.
Roses.
I have one for you. Do you
got?
think the Steve Stevens, who played with White Wedding, what is that guy's name?
Billy Idol.
Yeah, played with Billy. It was Billy Idol's guitar player. Is he in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Because he's like the main guitar player who did all of that stuff.
Let's check.
This might be a good example, because
Steve Stevens is nominated in 2025. He was nominated this year, nominated alongside
Billy Idol.
But
so they did it as a team.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. I just don't think they care enough. Maybe they do.
I was gonna say the way that Randy Rhoads played with Ozzy Osbourne, and even though it was like only for a couple records, or I think it was maybe even one,
but he had the best thing, right?
Yeah, he was the guy, and like, so
what was that big hit they had?
Let's see. Editor, you might want to clean this part up while I'm looking. Let's see. Randy Rhoads. I walk alone the Simon say. That's that Crazy Train.
Yeah, that's a Crazy Train.
Blizzard of Oz.
That's it.
He was inducted. Randy Rhoads was inducted in 2021.
With
it doesn't say with, because Ozzy got in. Well, when did Ozzy get in?
I'm sure Black Sabbath got in.
Black Sabbath got in 2006. And Ozzy got in as a solo artist in 2024.
And that's when Randy?
No, Randy got in 2021. So Randy got in, very interesting.
They do have the side guy guitar.
So to start wrapping this up, like, if we've got I think we got an episode out of this. I think we did pretty fucking good.
No question. It's the funny thing about this record is, like, some of his biggest hits aren't on this record, even though it is a compilation album. So, like, Red Rooster isn't on there, and that you saw Clapton do Red Rooster when you went to see Clapton in that show you hated, right? Remember that Clapton show you
wanted like? More. He didn't do. I mean, look, man. Am I looking for what is the song I loved off of Boom Ding 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 what is it? Something Florida. What is that song? The Clapton. Hold on, wait, and you're from Florida.
I know all of Clapton's songs. Wait, hold on, Florida.
Ding 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 ding. That's what you want. What did you want me? Hold on, we got mainline Florida. Oh, say ding, 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 ding. That was that's a top. That's in my top 5 songs I discovered from doing this podcast.
Oh, really?
You want to know what number 1 is?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Lookout Joe by Neil Young.
Oh,
dude, that song fucking rules. And but the thing is, I need Neil Young to redo the song and do the chorus back to back twice every time. It's not enough.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense? Like I want more.
Like the momentum get cut.
Oh, I have to. Dude, I think I listened to that song. The first time I heard it over and over and over. I mean, at least 100 to 200 times in a row because I wanted more of that chorus, dude. Look out, Joe. Go. Old times is old times. I want that part again twice, but he only does it once. But Mainline Florida, I remember that stopped me in my track. And guest of that episode, not Joe Bonamassa, the other guy. Who's the other guy? Joe Satriani.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we had Joe Satriani early on in the podcast. So Wayne, wrap this up. Tell us the meat and potatoes. This
is the thing. We've talked about it in this entire podcast, both myself and the other Wayne, is that this is a Chicago blues icon, Howlin Wolf, that influenced mainly a lot of English blues players, Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, Clapton, in particular, those guys. And so their music was reflected back and then became this huge movement. But he is a key figure in Chicago blues, and one of these guys who came up from the Mississippi Delta, learned from early blues guys down there in Mississippi and in Arkansas, came up to Memphis, recorded, believe it or not, Sun Studios, which wasn't even called Sun Studios back then, discovered like by Ike Turner. And these records went to Chicago, became very popular. And then he had this incredible career along with Hubert, his guitar player, and just an important figure in the history. If you like rock and roll, if you like Led Zeppelin or the Rolling Stones, or if you like the song Red Rooster, you're going to love this guy, Howlin Wolf. And unlike B.B. King, he's mainly known for his vocals. He's like Bobby Blue Bland. He's mainly known for his vocals.
So is Howlin Wolf the most famous blues singer?
That's a good question. He's got to be one of that era. Definitely. He's always on the top of that, because if you think about Bo Diddley and the other chess recording artists, Chuck Berry, those guys are like, they're making teenage music for the Ed Sullivan Show. Chuck Berry is doing up in the morning and out the street. He's doing teenage music. That was not what Howlin Wolf was doing. He was talking about brutal, getting somebody trying to serve him gasoline instead of a drink because they wanted to kill him. Like it was bad. It was intense.
Yeah.
So, thrilled to be part of this. I said, thrilled to be part of anything Howlin Wolf. And by the way, on a side note, I had never heard of Howlin Wolf when I was a kid. Like I heard of Led Zeppelin, Cream, all of those before I had heard of him. But it wasn't until that 1971 album where he went over to England and they recorded basically with the Rolling Stones. Side note, Ringo is on one of those tracks. And so that's when I first heard the name. I was like, oh, who is this guy? And that album is incredible. Like they do just great versions.
What's it called? What should we, because I want to listen to it.
I think it's called the London Sessions.
Let me see.
It's 1971. So see if you can find out what it's called. I would recommend that album. I know that sounds sacrilegious to say over these original recordings, but for my ears, it's incredible. Yeah,
the London Sessions came out in 71 on Chess Records, and on Rolling Stone Records. This is setting a blues master among famous musicians from the second generation of rock and roll. In this case,
Yep.
Clapton, Winwood, Charlie Watts, and Bill Wyman. Backstage at the Fillmore after a concert by Paul Butterfield Blues Band,
Blues,
Electric Flag. That's a way different band. And Cream. Chess Records staff producer Norman Dayron spotted the guitar players of the latter two bands, Bloomfield and Clapton, talking and joking around, approached Clapton and said, "How would you like to do an album with Howlin Wolf?" And after confirming the offer was legitimate, he agreed, and there you go.
They jumped on it. They jumped on the chance to play. And also, if you're listening and you want to know about Howlin Wolf, check out that clip from Shindig where he does Little Red Rooster. And literally, Mick Jagger, Keith Richards are sitting on the stage looking
Pull it
up.
up, Brian. Pull it up. Pull it up. That's how we end this. Pull it up.
And
what are we looking for again?
It's called Shindig, Rolling Stones, Howlin Wolf. Yeah, it's an incredible moment. And they had go-go dancers on that show, and the go-go dancers are just sitting in their chairs doing this to this blues guy. It's wild. It is a wild moment. Wild convergence of, I don't know why I'm yelling. It's a wild convergence.
You're excited.
Of the blues and rock. And that's how it all started.
Brian, you got it?
I don't even think he's there.
He's there. He's there. He's not going anywhere. Rockin' Daddy, Poor Boy, What a Woman, I Ain't Superstitious.
Oh, yeah. That was Jeff. That was Jeff Beck. That's another one of those. I think that's a Willie Dixon tune.
You got it? Brian.
Yeah, I got it.
Play it. Yeah. Play the video for us.
All right. So, all right. Do you want me to
hold on? I'm gonna do. Oh, we're gonna end it like that. Okay, cool. I thought we were gonna comment. All right. Before we go, favorite song on this record, Wayne?
I like the hit. I like Smokestack Lightning. I know it's a boring choice, but I also like that song Evil on side 2.
Okay. Is there anything you skip over?
No, they're all. I don't know Somebody in My Home that much, the last track on it, but it's really All Night Boogie is good. The early ones are great. My second favorite track, may I say that instead of the one I skip over?
Please.
Is How Many More Years? Because that is really, that's up tempo. It's incredible. And then Led Zeppelin completely rips them off for that. Yeah.
Can you make out with a girl to this?
Oh yeah. I mean, to Evil or to Moanin at midnight. I mean, yeah, of course.
And on the London sessions, you can really slip it in during Wang Dang Doodle.
I think you're gonna love the album. I think you're gonna love again, I know it's not the original recordings, it's British guys going, yes, we will record with Howlin Wolf. You tell us where, we will be there. And again, on one of those tracks or two of them, Ringo sits in on drums.
Says that, because Wyman and Charlie Watts were unavailable for the first day.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay.
Yeah. So on Rockin' Daddy, and Rockin' Daddy, Rockin' Daddy's got Charlie Watts. It's I Ain't Superstitious. You've got Klaus Vormann on bass.
He was a very influential with the Beatles. The German guy also played bass in the concert for Bangladesh. Great bass player.
Ringo playing drums,
Richie. But I think you'll like that. Check out that album.
I'm going to listen to it as soon as we're done after I do the intro. All right. And how do you sum this up? I feel like you've already done it, but
I've summed it up. I mean,
you've done it. You summed it. All right. Play the thing and we'll get out of here. Wayne, always a pleasure. I'll see you at Master Fleece Theater. Everybody, Kenny Wayne, we love you. We apologize for the issues.
Double Wayne.
It was a double Waynebow. Double Waynebow. All right, play it, Bri. In the video. Bri.
Yeah, I'm working on it. It won't let it.
No,
Jesus Christ. Or we'll watch it separately.
Oh, here we go.
Yep, there you go. Here we go.
No, I love it. It's incredible.
Oh. It is so hot, dude.
The Rolling Stones said, "Yeah, we will do that show if you bring on Howlin Wolf." That's how much they loved and treasured and idolized this guy.
That's neat. It's fucking cool. I love that. I love finding out when these guys are like obsessed with them.
Yes, yeah. That's exactly. They were obsessed with this dude, and they wanted him to be exposed to, the I don't know how many records he sold because of it, because the teenagers were like, "Can just let Mick Jagger sing? He's cute.
He's way cute. He got the lips.
He's way cuter.
Got the Howlin Wolf's at this 6'6", 300-pound black dude.
65 years old.
He's not. It's kind of hard to look at.
No, he's 50. He was like 55 at that time, but still, it was like older than your parents. Why are we listening to this guy?
He's influential to us. We love me some Howlin' Wolf, don't you, Ringo? Of course I do. I love him. He's great. What about you, Clapton? Well, I don't like that he's black, but besides that, he's actually pretty good. I don't want him to live here in England, you know what I mean? And in a couple of years, I'm going to make a speech at a concert and tell everybody, if you're brown, don't come. And then 25, 30, 40, 50 some odd years later, there'll be a president in America that I really like. I won't tell you who, though. I'll let it be a surprise.
Do you want to, is there a way to put that song on later?
I'm trying to. Yeah, I guess just add it later. I'll look it up. Yeah, Brian, don't worry about it. Let's wrap this up. We're good.
Wait, can you not see it?
No, we don't see anything.
I don't see it here.
What the? I was sitting here thinking it was playing the whole fuck.
No, I wouldn't have been talking over. I wouldn't have been doing racist Eric Clapton if it was.
You mean just Eric Clapton?
Eric Clapton, yeah.
Yeah.
Nah. I'm regular Clapton. I'm racist, Eric Clapton. Yeah, we'll watch it later.
Can't access your screen.
Don't worry about it. We'll watch it later. All right, is Wayne good to go?
Let me end the recording.